Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the BTF podcast, live on YouTube. That is the Back to Football podcast. And boys, we are so nearly back to football. The Premier League returns this week on Wednesday. That Arsenal versus, is it Arsenal Man City?
It is, yeah.
Opening game.
Yeah.
We finally made it. It feels like we're on the up as a country, maybe. And we have a good show coming up today. As you can see, there's three of us on the show today. Levi, unfortunately, was unable to make it today. But I am joined by John Miller. How are you, John?
Very well, thank you. Can't complain. Greg, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. All good. And Dan, yourself?
And yeah, I am. I'm very well too. Very, very well. John, this week, Tyson Fury and AJ have announced that they are going to fight. Has there been a date set? Do you know
No.
many details on this at the moment?
No, from what I've seen, there is no date set. It is likely to be 2021. That's what all the reports that I'm reading. But I'm sure there'll be some kind of lobbying done by Dillian White and his supporters, because he was assured that he would get his shot by February 2021, as he is the mandatory for the WBC belt, which Tyson Fury holds. So technically, if they were to do things right, and you know what organization does that these days, it should be Dillian White first versus Tyson Fury.
Okay.
And then AJ be the winner for Undisputed. But I'm pretty sure that Dillian White will get shafted, and it will be an AJ Tyson Fury, and then he'll have to fight the winner, and he'll just have to wait his turn. About the fight itself, I mean, it's a 2-fight deal, isn't it? So, I think that probably appeases Tyson Fury's promotional company, ESPN, because they'll.
Oh, is he with ESPN?
Yeah, and his TV company is ESPN. He's with Bob Arum.
Right.
So he'll have to fight in America. So one fight will be in America, and I'd imagine one fight would be either here or Saudi Arabia. So yeah, I think that will be interesting. The 2 fights. I seen some interesting things on the internet actually. Some people are like AJ's going to get destroyed. I think Tyson Fury will definitely be the favorite just because AJ's lost. And I think a lot of people think he's better. But even if Tyson Fury wins, which he might well do, I know Levi will have a different opinion, doesn't think that he will, but it won't be nothing like the Deontay Wilder fight. And if anyone thinks that it will be, they just don't know boxing. Anthony Joshua, whether you like him or not, he's got skills. You know what I mean? He has, he can fight, he can, you saw the Klitschko fight, you saw Joseph Parker fight. He can fight inside, he can fight long range, he can jab and move around, as he showed with Ruiz. Some people thought, it's just a fat guy, just knock him out. But he showed that he can move around. And also he shows that he can battle, whereas Deontay Wilder hasn't really been in a situation, or hasn't shown that he can battle. When he's had to battle, he's just lost. Other than that, he's just swang his punches and then he knocked people out with the power. So I think AJ has got power. He can move. He can fight inside. He can fight up close. He can fight mid-range. So I think if Tyson Fury wins, I think it ain't going to be no 7th round knockout. It'll probably be points or something like that. Vice versa, I just think Tyson Fury's too quick and too smart to get knocked out by Anthony Joshua. So in my opinion, I might be wrong. I think it's going to be points either side. Anthony Joshua win on points, or Tyson Fury win on points.
Yeah, I think it would be like that, especially the way that last Ruiz fight went for AJ. I think he realised that he is a good enough boxer. He doesn't have to chase that knockout win. He used his boxing brain and, got the result, got the dub. Greg, what are you thinking with this fight? Were you going to look to get tickets if it's in the UK?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they'll be ridiculously expensive, won't they? And you'll be right at the back. I don't mind watching it from home, to be honest. I think you get, the commentary and the better angles and all that. I think it's going to be a brilliant fight.
Binoculars out.
I definitely think that it's gonna, because I think that I like both of them, but I think that AJ, we've seen from that last Ruiz fight, he can, be a little bit more reserved and just play for points. But I think Tyson Fury will really bring him out and be like, all right, let's have it properly. Let's have a proper fight. And they're both brilliant fighters, brilliant British fighters. It's going to be a great couple of fights. I'm looking forward to it. As a filthy casual, this is right up my street. I know both of these fighters for once.
Well, personally. So I think it's important probably to touch on, obviously, we had our show last week on Black Lives Matters and the killing of George Floyd and the peaceful protests that have taken place since. Obviously, AJ spoke out this week, or he was at the protest, gave a speech, fully kind of supported it all. And you know what? It's been very interesting to see the public reaction to that, and perhaps who the true fans of AJ the human being actually are. I do wonder if that's a narrative that is going to dominate maybe the build up to this fight, particularly in light of some of Tyson Fury's very questionable public opinions and views on all sorts of different issues, including kind of
gay marriage.
Yeah, gay marriage.
Anything he says, basically.
Yeah, everything in the Wikipedia, just anything on Wikipedia. Tyson Fury's opinion on that is probably quite controversial. It obviously in the build up to Fury Wilder, there was some discourse, and he was asked, I think, along the way in the build up, are there racial kind of tensions in this fight, and he dismissed those. But yeah, I could see particularly this fight being announced this week of all weeks, when things are sort of at a bit of a tipping point. I think that could be something that does play out. I mean, I'm not saying that these two guys are looking at it like that, but I certainly think the media may try and latch on to that as an angle to maybe shamefully kind of promote the fight. John, what was your thoughts on kind of the social media backlash, I guess, that some people came out against AJ with this week? Pretty shameful.
Yeah, pretty shameful. I think you hit the nail on the head. It really does show people's intentions, whether they were fans or not, and it really does demonstrate a lack of intelligence. If you're gonna just go, even if you saw it and thought, okay, this is what they're saying, he said, surely it doesn't take you 2 minutes to go on YouTube, go on the internet and find the full speech and go, oh, actually, no, that's not really what was said. But it's just so typical of ignorance and stupidity, where people go, yeah, he said this, what about what Andy Joshua said about, black people shouldn't go to white shops? Well, that's not what he said. That is literally not what he said. So yeah, but I agree with you though. I do think, and I actually said this morning, actually speaking to someone, that exactly what you just said. Like, I think the media are going to latch on it and make it a black versus white thing. And but I also think that will help. Yeah, if they do that, that will just help sell, because people that don't like Anthony Joshua, that are not even really Tyson Fury fans, or they don't like him now because of what he said, will buy tickets to see him get beaten because they think that Tyson Fury will knock him out, and they'll be like, yeah. We saw him get beaten. So where people are talking about boycotting his fights and that, I wouldn't worry about that if I was Matchroom or Anthony Joshua, because real people with common sense. That old saying, common sense is not common, but real people with common sense will go, yeah, that wasn't even nothing, and will go. He's a big enough star to overlook that. But those that are stupidly affected by that, or that sort of him attending that protest and reading someone else's speech, will want to probably go to see him lose.
Yep. No, I think I agree. Greg, last point on maybe the protests for this week. and I'm throwing you in the deep end here, very much like the Colston statue was thrown in the deep end. What's your thoughts on say the Churchill statue and removing different statues and I mean some people are calling it deleting history. Thoughts on it?
It reminds me of it's something that I sort of looked into a little bit all before this happened. I don't know why. It was sort of when I was doing my dissertation, and you look for anything for a distraction. So I spent about half an hour, and it reminded me of how Disney Fantasia, that film. There's two versions of it. There is one censored and one the original, and the original has got some very racist caricatures in it, and the newer ones have just deleted it from history, pretend it doesn't happen. And we've seen this with Disney and companies like that. They try and delete it. Warner Brothers have got some questionable and very racial topics from their earlier stuff as well. But the difference is that they accept it. They look at it, and there's a disclaimer at the very beginning of most things, DVDs and things like that. And they say, look, these were views that were of its time, totally unacceptable, and they don't represent how we feel now, but we can't delete it. We're putting it there so it can be acknowledged as a bad thing, and things have changed now. It's that old saying of those who try and remove history are doomed to repeat it. And
didn't Donald Trump tweet that this week?
He did, and I hate that he did, because it's not his quote.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to quote Donald Trump, but there's a little part of it's difficult because
I think it's certainly not. There's not a uniform response for every case is different
right.
with these statues, but I completely understand that that point, and it's very, very difficult because I mean someone like Churchill, for instance, like he's regarded as this great war hero and this great wartime leader, and no doubt he was, but we do sweep under the carpet a lot of his views and policies and maybe mistakes. But at the end of the day, he was the leader during a world war, which is still kind of held up, at least in common history, as kind of the greatest achievement of this country. And that's probably an overstatement, but it is that's the way it's regarded. I just think they are probably on an individual basis, and I don't think you can just blanket remove everything. Obviously, we also had we've talked quite a lot, Greg, me and you, about the comedy shows and sitcoms and stuff that have come under fire this week and started to be removed. John, I guess, question to you: were you originally a fan of Little Britain?
I must say I have watched a few episodes. Although I must say, obviously, watching it many years ago, I don't remember each episode vividly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember too many racial things there, but maybe there was that subtle that they just went over my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily associate that show with racism, to be honest. But just going back on what you said about the statues, and obviously linking in with the fact that shows have been removed, I think I definitely think with the statues, like you say, you have to take each one in case in point. With the one that they pulled down in Bristol, I think they were campaigning for years to get that removed. And they wouldn't. So that one, leave that at the bottom of the lake. I think there is no excuse for defacing the Churchill statue. I think that's wrong. But it's the reaction. So first of all, are the facts, facts, I say facts, is the information that we get accurate? Who defaced it? Because it's like one of those things now. You've seen a lot of videos being posted of America of black and ethnic minorities looting and smashing things up, and there's people of black and ethnic minorities trying to stop them. Although there are videos of black people and other ethnic groups looting as well. So we don't know unless there's some footage that I haven't seen, who defaced that statue. So that's my first point on that. Secondly, it's the people's reaction. So people are like, they're not up in arms that people, black people, whatever people, are being killed by police, people that are meant to protect and serve. They're up in arms that statues of war criminals and and or war heroes, whatever you want, however you want to look at them, of people that don't even exist anymore, are being pulled down. And I think there's a bigger picture here, and I think what needs to happen is it's just education. For me, when I'm having conversations with people, it boils down to education. What needs to happen is all this stuff of statues being coming down and stuff. It needs to just be documented. There needs to be books. It needs to be added to the curriculum. So when we are learning, when our future generation are learning about Churchill, they're learning about how he was, somebody that was great for, defeating Hitler and World War II and all that good stuff. But they also learn that his statue was potentially defaced or taken down or removed, whatever happens from this, because
of X, Y, Z, yeah.
X, Y, and Z. And the same for any other statue where there are both sides to the coin. So people are fully educated, because what's happening is people have been educated so much about how great Churchill was. That's why they're in such shock. And they're like, can't believe it. This great Jesus-like person has their statue removed, when really he wasn't all 100% great, as we now know, and was racist. So I think if they knew that from their early formative years, they would maybe have a different view and wouldn't be so up in arms about the statue. In regards to the shows, to jump in, I think that's just a bit going a little bit over the top, in my opinion, but I'm sure other people might have a different opinion. I don't think they should be. And also as well, there's no one campaigning for that. I haven't seen any Black Lives Matter campaigning to remove Little Britain, Fawlty Towers, and any other show that has some slightly racial nicknames or connotations or anything like that. That's not what we want. That's far from what we're after. And then what that's going to do, the knock-on effect, is people are going to start to lose respect for these campaigns and say, this is, political correctness gone wrong and all these kind of things, when that's not what we're campaigning for. And I just think that's some white person high up that's just taking things over the top a little bit, or maybe just jumping the gun, thinking, we better remove this in case there's complaints, when there's literally not been probably any complaints.
Yeah, I mean, I recently, I say recently, but probably in the last 2 years, rewatched all of Little Britain, and there's a lot of scenes in that, or like sketches, where you do go, there's that phrase, they wouldn't get away with that now, or they wouldn't, you wouldn't have that on TV now. And I think, and it would be the same for, Fawlty Towers, scenes of Fawlty Towers, scenes of The Office, scenes of Alan Partridge, even things in Peep Show, where you say, actually, that probably wouldn't be on TV now. And I think, if someone has that reaction to it, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Surely that's an indication of progress. That someone would watch something and go, actually, that's that's a bit over the line. That's not the modern way of going about things. And I completely agree with, I think, where Greg said about Fantasia, was it, or
Fantasia?
Yeah. And if you do just completely remove it, then you've got no reference point. You've got no reference point to what was the bad thing, and then you're kind of just, you're back at setting out from the beginning on the whole issue. So it is, it's a very fluid situation where each case is its own thing. But yeah, I certainly I think it would be a shame to lose a lot of those shows. But yeah, we'll take each one as it comes. I'm not defending people like who's Roy Chubby Brown and all the Bernard Manning, like all those old comedians. A lot of them were just straight up racist, and they shouldn't be on TV. But things where it's very nuanced, like Little Britain, I don't think was ever setting out to offend people. But anyway,
they were writing like a new series, weren't they, for the end of this year?
Were they? Yeah, no,
Oh,
actually,
really?
that's right. A couple of months ago, there was a thing saying, they were saying, Williams is just going to have to start swimming the channel again a couple of times to stay relevant now. Right, so we should talk about football. Obviously, we mentioned that the Premier League returns this week. How much Bundesliga and other league football have you watched up to this point, boys?
None.
Not too much.
Yeah, not too much. Yeah, I'm not.
Me neither.
I saw La Liga have been pumping fan noises into the stadiums, haven't they?
Yeah,
really.
It looks really weird. Yeah, because obviously there's loads of empty seats, but then you can hear like roaring crowds going around. Yeah, it looks bizarre. No, I'm looking forward to the Premier League coming back. I actually had to resort to watching an old Tottenham game on Amazon Prime the other day because I sort of missed a bit of football, and then I realised that I don't want to see Tottenham on a pitch.
Which year at Tottenham?
It was like a January. I think it was Burnley. I think we played them in December.
Oh, so it's from this season.
Yeah, from this season.
Right.
But yeah, no, it'll be an interesting one. I think that the thing that we'll notice is the level of fitness in the players. That'll be quite entertaining to watch. Didn't Arsenal play Brentford as a friendly?
Brentford, yeah.
Brentford, and they got absolutely played around the park.
Yeah, I'd read about that.
Apparently, they played Norwich yesterday and lost.
Who, Arsenal?
In a friendly, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh. Not good. I think it's hard. I mean, I don't know. I think you're right, Greg. I think fitness.
Wait, no, sorry, that was Spurs. to correct myself, Spurs played Norwich in a friendly, lost 2-1.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's tough. I think it's a psychological thing as well. I think the players are in such a flow, and it's not like it stopped with the natural progression of end of season and transfer and holidays. You know, they were still having to do activities at home and do stuff, and it's a whole coronavirus situation. I think there's going to be some. They're humans, as you know. There's going to be some anxiety going out on the pitch. Yes, they're being told it's safe, and yes, people have been tested. But I'm sure there's going to be some anxiety amongst some players about getting injured because they might not feel as fit and strong as they were, about potentially contracting something about getting the virus. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think I think it's very interesting. I think watching the game in its entirety is going to be interesting to see fitness levels, how people are playing, are they committed in having the same commitment as they had before it all got brought to a halt. So that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how many players like mentally as well would have just signed out from this season and kind of just think like there's and there'll be particularly some of those teams that are kind of between maybe 13th and 7th or something like that. Your Arsenals, your Spurs type kind of teams that have got nothing to play for. Whether they are kind of a lot of those players, especially you imagine you're a bench warmer or someone that's playing like 5-10 minutes a game. Or even someone that's pushing to try and even break into the match day squad, which of course is going to be bigger for the rest of these games this season. I think there's a 20-man squad per match day. But yeah, you'd think some of those players must just be thinking, this is pointless. I haven't even got the roar of the crowd there to kind of keep me entertained. I'm back to my days before I was a professional. Some of them will maybe even feel like. Or before I was playing, at least in the big leagues. Have you got any early thoughts on teams you think are going to really excel during this time? I mean, who would we look at as maybe the fittest, kind of best drilled team in the league? Because that might be a place to start. I'm thinking
Wolves.
Wolves, yeah, Wolves could be very good.
I think that City are going to have had a lot of time to reflect on how this season was going, and because I'm sure you boys have watched the Amazon Prime documentary on them,
yeah,
and getting to know the players, they seem like a really motivated bunch. And Pep, when he gets a hold of that dressing room, he can really motivate them. So I feel that they'll have a little bit of time to reflect on how the season went and think, right, we can really rally here. We're a bunch of talented players. We can use this opportunity to get something out of this season.
Yep, I agree. I mean, what is there any chance of them being caught? A Leicester going to come back strong? Leicester obviously 4 points behind Man City. Man City with a 1 game advantage on them. So potentially kind of 7 points off of second place. I personally can't see Leicester having a better run into the end of the season than Man City do. But you know,
I agree.
Is Sterling still going to be at City next year? You know, is he going to be looking at maybe a summer exit? What's happening with the transfer window? So I'm just throwing a lot of questions out here. But
I think it's going to be the deadest transfer window. I feel like there's going to be a lot of parameters around medicals, obviously, because we see a lot of transfers break down after the medicals. At that stage. So this year round, I mean, if you're moving from Italy to the UK or something, and you've got to do medicals and quarantine for 2 weeks and all of that, you might think, oh, why bother? Just train. No, I don't think that we're going to get a lot of action going on in the transfer window.
On the other side to that, there are talks of obviously certain clubs financially struggling and needing to offload players. So, you know, that could also play an impact as well. I'm hearing that Juventus want to sell Aaron Ramsey because he's on £400,000 a week, and they're thinking if they can sell him.
How does he manage that?
Because he was a free transfer.
He was free, wasn't he? So they spent
free transfer
fund on his wages.
Jeez.
So yeah, they're thinking, well, we can get that transfer off our books.
Yeah.
Maybe get 10 million for him.
Would Arsenal take him back?
I wouldn't, personally. I think, you know, you've got to move on. I think there's other players out there, and also as well, he's no spring chicken. He's I think he's 29, 30 now. So I think Arsenal should be looking in another direction now. But yeah, it will be difficult. I say it's not going to be a quiet one for Chelsea. It looks like they've got all sorts going on. It seems like it's back to the 2004, 2005 season where they were just buying everyone,
spraying money out everywhere he can.
Yeah,
he's obviously not struggling with the global financial crisis right now because he seems to be lining or has lined his pockets over the last thing. I mean, I do wonder with Abramovich whether he's seen this as a good opportunity to put Chelsea back on top, and you know whether he's inevitably investing his personal fortune, which is, you know, many billions. What's spending, you know, 50 million on Ben Chilwell? You know, to him, that's pocket money. That's like me or you spending £5 on, I don't know. Yeah, I want £5 worth of Skittles. That's, you know, yeah, that's him buying Ben Chilwell. And, you know, is Abramovich one of the best owners in the Premier League? Would you want Abramovich as your team? I know he's got some controversial background stuff, and I mean, he's not. Is he not Russian anymore? Is that right? He's Israeli now. But
no.
yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly an interesting character. But I mean, I would argue that he's one of the best owners that we've ever seen in the Premier League.
It depends what your sort of parameters are for best, because obviously Leicester haven't got all the money in the world, but their owners, they're out in the community. Yeah, they're like good blokes.
Yeah, if we're looking at community involvement, Abramovich is pretty low down the scale.
You look at Tottenham's owner, and I think he just lives in the Bahamas in an absolute tax haven.
Yeah,
I don't think he's visited the club in about 3 years or something.
Gets Daniel Levy to do all the dirty work.
Yeah.
And you look at Arsenal, and he's not much better. Is
that Kroenke? Who's the Arsenal?
Yeah, Kroenke. Yeah, you know, and he's obviously, wasn't he in trouble for something like shooting animals or something like that?
Right,
hunting.
Sounds about right. Trophy hunting, probably.
Yeah.
Got a Man City lot. They're a bit questionable and just ruin the league with the money.
Yep.
Who else? Oh, Man United. It's just another business to them, just running it into the ground.
Yeah, the Glazier family.
Yeah.
Although they do own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who obviously have just got Tom Brady as their new quarterback this year, and possibly Rob Gronkowski will be playing for the Bucs as well this year. So the Glaziers have invested a bit of money over there, at least contract-wise. And to be honest, Man United have had a steady stream of money. The money's never really dried up at Man United, and I think that's because they are such a global brand that they are just, a machine for selling shirts, selling TV subscriptions, sold out pretty much every game for the last however many years. Man United have always been big spenders very consistently, and I think that's why they've been such underachievers in the last, in the post-Ferguson era. Because it's not like they stopped spending money. They spent more money, if anything. But yeah, I don't know. Even I hear the Liverpool owner, John Henry, and the Fenway Sports Group. He, I'm told, is pretty much one of the most hated owners in baseball. So they own the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox absolutely hate their owners. Whereas
Really?
On the flip side, I think if you ask most Liverpudlians who support the Reds, I think they would say that John Henry's actually been a brilliant owner for them and has kind of really advanced the club. So I think it really depends on the fan base. It depends on the team performance. And at the end of the day...
He has had issues. I think that he's been trying to knock down a whole housing estate to try and expand the stadium.
Right, yeah, that'll cause some issues.
Tottenham came under fire for the furloughing staff, despite having Harry Kane on 200k a week or whatever. But Liverpool did exactly the same. It's just that they pulled out. They retracted that as soon as they could, as soon as they realised it wasn't popular.
Right.
So I think, they've got a few bits that are a little bit controversial.
Yeah. Yeah. I like though your suggestion of the Leicester owners obviously tragically passed away last year in that terrible helicopter crash. But even the sons or the family at least seem to have carried on that legacy of being brilliant. And at the end of the day, for me, Leicester winning the Premier League when they did is the greatest Premier League story that there will ever be written. So, yeah, all right, I agree with that. But Abramovich has got a pretty healthy trophy cabinet since he's been there.
Yeah.
I would say that. So, Liverpool, do we think that they are going to continue their dominance in these remaining 9 games of the year? Or do you think they're going to drop a few points because they kind of basically got it all in the bag and get ready for maybe the start of next season? Treat this as the pre-season.
Yeah, that's the thing. We'll be able to see if it was the adrenaline and the
momentum,
the momentum that carried them, and of course Anfield, such a stadium, that crowd lifting you up as well. We'll be able to see how they fare after the breaks have been hit for this long. But I don't know. What do you think, John?
No, I agree. I think they'll probably drop a few points. I agree with you, Dan. I think it would be wise, depending on, preseason and time and stuff, to kind of give some game time to some other players coming through, especially if they wrap up the season in if they got one more game or 2 games, they could wrap it all up in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 2, and if results go their way elsewhere.
Yeah, I think if they hadn't lost to, was it Watford? Then I think they'd probably look to try and secure that 50-0 to beat Arsenal's record. But I think the fact that that's now gone out the window, it wouldn't really make sense to exhaust the players further after they had this kind of time off, and their probably energy bars a little bit lower than it would normally be. So I think there'll definitely be some rotations once they've sewn it all up, and and I think that would probably result in them dropping a few points.
Yeah, no, I think I would have to agree. I'm hoping that Harvey Elliott gets some game time. Obviously, he was another Fulham Academy export, and he's played a few times in the League Cup for them this year, and could be a potential England talent in the future. So hoping that he gets some Premier League minutes under his belt. Obviously with the 5 substitutes as well coming up in these games. There's a lot of scope for good young talent to get out there. So, and at the end of the day, next season, then rolling into European Championship in the summer, then rolling into another season with a World Cup at the end of that. So we'll go 2021 European Championship and then December 2022 for the Qatar. Yeah, okay. So they will get a break in summer 2022 will be a break and then back into a pretty full season the year after. But yeah, I certainly think, if you're a footballer, you're going to really be, earning your money over the next 2.5 years because it's going to be pretty much wall-to-wall football.
What are they doing about the Confederation Cup?
It's a good question, Greg. Very good question.
That's a
Google search that.
Before, isn't it? That's always the summer before a World Cup.
It is, yeah.
I'm interested to see how they
Sometimes it's a great tournament, other times it's not good at all. So Confederations Cup. So yeah, obviously it would be next summer usually.
They usually play it in the host country, don't they?
It's gone. It's been abolished apparently.
Really?
2019. Let's have a look. Let's do a bit of Wikipedia reading. So, 2021 tournament and abolition. The 2021 tournament was originally to be held in Qatar, the host country of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, as announced on the 2nd of December 2010 after the country was awarding the hosting rights of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Very obvious, we know all that detail. However, concerns arose surrounding Qatar's high temperatures during the summer period, which also led to the World Cup to be moved to November-December. On the 25th of February 2015, it resulted in FIFA officially announcing that it would move the 2021 Confederations Cup to another country in the Asian Football Federation, so it could still be held in the traditional window of June-July 2021 without interrupting domestic leagues. As compensation, another FIFA tournament, potentially the 2021 FIFA Club World Cup, could be held in Qatar. Bribe money. And in here we go. In October 2017, FIFA divulged plans to abolish the Confederations Cup by 2021 and replace it with a quadrennial 24-team FIFA Club World Cup. Oh, that would be mad. A 24-team FIFA Club World Cup, and move the latter tournament to from December to June. And then on the 15th of March 2019, FIFA announced that the Confederations Cup would be abolished, with the 2021 FIFA World Cup taking place instead. So, yeah, basically there's going to be a massive FIFA Club World Cup taking place in summers now, which is surely not going to be very popular with all those teams.
That's going to be mayhem.
But at the same time, probably for football as a brand, and if they're looking to kind of still grow in certain markets, and maybe have games in the States and in different places across Asia and the Middle East, and hopefully games in Africa as well, then I think having a 24-team tournament, like a mini Champions League, but involving Boca Juniors and River Plate and who would it be, like Melbourne City and the Jeonbuk All-Stars, that I'd be well up for that. I would be so up for that.
I just feel like a lot of English teams and a lot of European teams will see that as an opportunity to just get the youth squad out and get them playing in a bit of time like that. The Club World Cup that we saw, what was it, in December?
Yeah.
It's not high quality football, is it exactly? It's a little bit, I don't know. It's a shame because I feel like the Confederations Cup was a great little teaser for the World Cup. Gave these smaller nations, footballing nations, a bit more exposure. I think it was great entertainment. It's such a shame that they've completely got rid of it for just, as you say, like a sort of smaller version of the Champions League. I suppose it gives those Australian teams and teams like that a bit more exposure, but
Yeah,
don't do it for me.
not for you.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You're out.
Do you know what? I'd like to see, you'd maybe get like an MLS team in there. You'd surely have teams from all over the world, because at the moment I think the Club World Cup is only 4 teams.
Yeah.
The Champions League winner, the Copa America winner, the Copa Libertadores winner, and must be the North American, whatever their cup is called, and then the Australian Asian Cup as well. So yeah, surely you would then have 6 teams from all of those areas.
Would it be league winners from Germany, France, England?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. We'll look into that. We'll have more info on that, and BTF 48. Maybe we'll quiz Levi on it when we get our findings, and then we'll lecture him on what's happening with the FIFA Club World Cup. Should we do a few predictions? I think we should do predictions for the Premier League games that are coming up between now and our next show. So do they play games? I know they play on Wednesday.
6 p.m.
Yeah, there's the 6 p.m. game between Aston Villa and Sheffield United. I guess we'll get predictions for that first. Is that being played at Villa Park? I don't know too many details about where all these games are actually being played. Will that be at Villa Park?
On the Sky Sports website, it does say Villa Park.
Yeah, I'm looking on Soccerway at the moment, and it says Villa Park as well. But predictions for that game. So we've got Aston Villa, obviously, sitting down in 19th place in the league, 25 points, versus Sheffield United, who had an outstanding season so far with 43 points in 7th place. Greg, first up, your prediction.
Who are the teams, sorry?
Aston Villa and Sheffield United.
I reckon Sheffield United will have that.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-1.
Nice. And John?
I want Villa to win, because anybody above Arsenal right now, I'm hoping, has a bad run, so we can climb up the table and at least get into one of the Europa League spots. I think Champions League might be a bit too far. But I agree with Greg. I think Sheffield United have been such a well-oiled machine. I can't see Aston Villa beating them, so I'm going to go for 2-0.
Yeah, I am also going to jump on the Sheffield United bandwagon here. Obviously, Jack Grealish was flouting lockdown rules to go to parties with Ross McCormack all night, and then crashing his Range Rover on the way home in the morning. So I don't really think he, as their star player, has been taken the last few months maybe too seriously. And I think that Sheffield team is just really well drilled, and I think their fitness levels will be pretty high. Next game is Manchester City taking on Arsenal. This is supposedly at the Etihad Stadium. I'll go first on this one, and I do think that City are going to come out and lay down a marker for the rest of the season. I think this is going to be 4-1 to Man City. John, we'll come to you next as the resident Arsenal fan on the BTF podcast.
I'm going to go for a shock Arsenal win. And of course, when that doesn't happen, please don't shoot me. One of the only times I'm going to go for a fan. I think I'll go for it as a fan view rather than what I think will happen. But I think with all these, obviously this stuff around Arsenal losing, I think with Arteta going back, you've got something to prove. So I'm hoping that he organises the team well enough, and we might, sneak a victory. So yeah, I'm going to go for an Arsenal win 2-1.
Nice. Greg?
I'm inclined to agree with Dan here.
I've literally thought you were going to say me. I was about to be shocked. But
and it'll be like a 3-1, I reckon.
Nice. The Serie A actually restarted, I think, yesterday. I don't know if they had games before yesterday, but Juventus played Milan, and that was a 0-0. Obviously, slightly more defensive league, different style of football, but maybe we might just see Man City versus Arsenal as a 0-0. Also, you should check out Ante Rebic's red card in that game if you've not seen it yet. It had many shades of Nigel de Jong in the World Cup final, with which Howard Webb did not send him off for. But yeah, Rebic's was very similar to that, bit of a kung fu kick to the chest.
Do you want a live reaction from me?
Let's go for a live reaction from Greg here. Yeah, it's naughty.
Blimey.
Yeah, is it naughty, is it? I'll have a look after the show.
Yeah,
the ball comes in. He doesn't even care. He's got no regard for human life with that kick. Wow.
We'll do two more predictions. These are the two games that are taking place. Did I stutter? Taking place on Friday. First of all, we got 6 o'clock game between Norwich and Southampton. Big blockbuster, this one. We will come to you first, Greg.
1-0 Norwich.
1-0 Norwich. And John?
1-0 Southampton.
Oh, and I'll go for 1-1. A draw. So then we do have a genuinely, exciting game taking place next Friday evening, and we'll have all the reaction to this game on our Saturday morning show at 11:30 a.m. On Saturday. As obviously I said last week, didn't even realise at the time, Greg, that you even corrected me, but I did say that our show would be coming up at 11:30 p.m. This Saturday. Tottenham taking on Manchester United. Very exciting game. Obviously, you've got Mourinho back up against Man United. Man United, no one really knows what they're going to play like, but obviously a lot of very, very talented players in that United team. I'll go first on this one, and I think Mourinho is just going to be so up for this game, and I think we're looking at a 3-2 blockbuster to Spurs. John, as a resident Spurs hater on this show,
I agree. Actually, I think that Mourinho, a lot of people think he's lost his spark, but he's still got the glimmer there, and he's still a world-class manager, and I think he'll be well up for it. And I think that Spurs will get the win.
Ooh.
Yeah,
great.
I'm hopeful, but I'm aware that we also run the risk of losing Dele Alli and Aurier.
Yes.
Their behaviour during lockdown.
So did Aurier get a ban for his haircut stuff?
I think, well, he flaunted the rules about 3 times, so I think he's being investigated. The same with Ali. So yeah, I think that as awful as Sergio Aurier is, we don't really have a backup right back. And Ali, of course, is central to how well we play. But then we've got Harry Kane back. And as you say, I think Mourinho this is the one game that he's focusing on. And I think that if he can rally the troops, we can get a result.
Nice. Was there a score prediction there?
Oh, I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0 Spurs.
Blimey. So all three of us have gone for a Spurs win here.
I've gone 1-0. I think he'll park the bus a little bit. I think it'll be a battle of the tactical manager, and I think Mourinho will come on top and we'll get a counter-attack 1-0. Is Son's fit, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, Son's fit, Lloris fit.
I think Son will score. I think Son will score and be 1-0. That's my prediction. Nice. If you want him to be a bit more specific there, Dan.
Lovely. I like it.
1 minute.
47.
That would be crazy if that happens. I'm looking forward to watching Bruno Fernandes. I think he certainly has he's showed signs that, potentially one of the most exciting players in the Premier League moving forward. I saw some highlights this week of Kevin De Bruyne. Just things he'd done this season. I don't think that guy gets as much praise as he should. I don't think you see Kevin De Bruyne highlight reels out there all the time, but technically, the power that guy's got in his shot, his vision is ridiculous, his technique is ridiculous. He's fast. I just think he's an all-round player, and I don't mean it as an insult to say that he's the best player. And I'm not taking anything away from a lot of the three guys up front for Liverpool, but I think De Bruyne is the most exciting player in the league.
Yeah, I think that it's the same issue with Aguero. I think that just because they play for Man City, they're not given the respect that they deserve. But given time, we will look back and think, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. John, who's your favourite player in the league before we end the show today?
Aubameyang.
Yeah. Pierre-Emerick. And you, Greg?
Yeah. That's a great question. I wasn't expecting it. Favourite player in the league?
We haven't mentioned your hairband either yet today.
hairband.
You thought you got away with it.
I don't know. I suppose I'm a big fan of Son for Tottenham. I think he's a genuine bloke, and I think he's hardworking and he's a talented player.
Yeah, no, I like all three of those players, to be honest. Would love to see them all on the same team one day, maybe Fulham. Right, we will end the show here, boys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your weekends, and of course, anyone watching or tuning in, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you back here slightly earlier next Saturday, and we'll have some Premier League football to be talking about. So we'll see you then. Bye, guys.
See you later.
Yeah.